simplifying the way that you see and respond to complicated times, clarifying your crisis. So, the first thing we're going to jump into is what is a crisis? Let's just say that a crisis is simply an unexpected event, circumstance, or situation that seems to be out of your control. All right? So, a crisis defined here is going to be an unexpected event, circumstance, situation that seems to be out of your control. Let's take a look at a few examples of what I mean when I say crisis, okay? So, a job loss would be a crisis. Divorce and separation would be a crisis. One thing that we overlook a lot, but I encounter this a lot as well, is legal issues. It may be you that's facing the legal issues, or it could be one of your loved ones that's facing legal issues. But legal issues definitely could be a time of crisis, not only for the person that is facing the legal issues, but also the team around them, family, friends, their business. It's just a major crisis that we tend to overlook. A career change. When I say career change, it could be the career that you were in or the job that you were in is no longer available. Or it could be something simple as retiring from the military or retiring from whatever it is that you've been doing in the past. Let's say, for example, you just finished up your master's degree or your doctorate degree, and now it's time to get to work. This can be a crisis if this situation persists or goes on for a long time, or just the thoughts associated around it, the thoughts and the feelings, along with the circumstances that are coming up. But also, not only should we look at the examples of crisis, we should also look at the example of the effects of the crisis that you may be facing. For example, fear, anxiety, abandonment, depression, sickness, and destroyed relationships. Well, I'm going to say destroyed relationships because oftentimes in the midst of your crisis, you tend to take steps back or take steps away from the people that were usually there to support you and for you to support them as well. So the relationships do tend to suffer during times of crisis, whether it be the fact that you really just don't want people to see or experience what it is that you're facing in an effort to try to hide it from them or an effort to try to keep everything from coming to light that may be going on in your life. You just feel like the best thing that you can do is not be around those people so that they can't spot those situations that's going on in your life, especially if you're not ready to be vulnerable enough to talk about those things, okay? So here's what we need to do. This is one thing that you need to do in this situation. You need to ask yourself, how are you personally being affected by the crisis or the complicated times that you're currently facing? I know that during complicated times, crisis, change, you'll hear me switch up the terminology a little bit. I'll interchange crisis along with change and complicated times, okay? Just so we're all on the same page here. All right? So I know that some of you during these times you feel alone. You feel like there's no one there for you. You may feel like no one sees what's happening in your life. And that could be in a positive way or in a negative way. Either way you look at it, the truth of the matter is it's those things that really make relationships go bad. You're not being vulnerable and you're trying to hide the situation. Okay? But this is one thing I want you to understand. Even in the attempt to try to hide what's going on in your life and what's going on with your circumstance. For example, if you have a business or, in your workplace and you want to keep the two separate and you feel like, okay, I got all this stuff going on at home. However, it's not affecting my business at all. It's not affecting my performance at all. Well, I can tell you right now, the only person that you're fooling is yourself because even though people may not say anything to you, or even though you may think that you're going about your business as usual, people around you do recognize that there's something off. They recognize that your performance isn't the same, your demeanor isn't the same, and this really plays a bigger part in your success than you oftentimes realize. But just because no one says anything, maybe to respect your privacy or maybe to respect the fact that you aren't reaching out to them, then they may not say anything. But rest assured they actually do see you, okay? As I mentioned before, you will try to distance yourself because you don't want anybody to see what's going on, all right? But I want you to know that your business is not the same. You know why it's not the same? Because you're not showing up the same. There was a time when things were going good, when everything was flourishing, or it was the way that you wanted it to be, or you desired it to be at that time, then you were showing up differently, okay? So when you show up giving your best and being your best, then you're going to perform at your best, right? Okay, so simplifying that, if you're not being your best and you're not feeling your best, then it stands to reason that you're not showing up at your best, okay? And everyone around you will notice that you're not giving that 100% that you used to be able to give, okay? So this is a bigger problem than you may realize, but we have to clarify and we have to understand this from a personal point of view. How is this affecting us, okay? That we got to be real about it. We have to understand how it's affecting us, okay? Now, if you choose to be vulnerable enough, I'm sure that if you had a conversation with some of the people around you, if you had an accountability partner and you asked them, what do you think about the way that I've been showing up lately? Or what do you think that I can do differently? Or what's two things that I could do differently to help us accomplish our goals and move forward in this business or, whatever team you may be a part of? And I'm sure that at that point, by you being vulnerable enough to do that, they will give you the feedback and the acknowledgement that you need really to move forward and to really get clarity on where it is and how you have been showing up. So this is another thing we need to think about. What is our desired outcome? What is it that you really want? See, because here's the thing, most people are good at telling you what they don't want, but a lot of us find it more difficult to say exactly what it is that you do want. Now, this is interesting. I mean, even if it's something as simple as asking a friend or a spouse, what do you want for lunch or what do you want for dinner? It's not always easy for them to just tell you simply what do they want. It's a back and forth. Well, what do you want? What do you want? No, I'm asking you, what do you want? What outcome do you want from this crisis? Now, I know the answer that I get when I'm working with my one-on-one clients is, okay, if they're going through a divorce or separation, well, what they want is the person back in their lives. They want everything to go back to what it was with the promise that it's going to be better than it ever has been. Here's the thing. You can't make a person want something just because you want it, okay? You can't allow what another person's decision is to determine expected outcomes for your life, okay? So when I'm asking you what you really want, yes, of course, if you're going through a separation or a divorce, then that ultimately would be what you want. But I would say things that are even more important than that. For example, you could want the person to come back, but you could also want best relationship possible going forward. And to be honest with you, the best relationship going forward may not always be in the same direction as the other person is willing to go. So we have to keep that in mind, which I really could go a lot deeper into that idea, and maybe we'll have an opportunity to do that at some other time. But you have to get clear on what it is that you want. So don't leave it up to others to decide what life will be for you going forward. You have to determine what your desired outcomes are going forward, all right? So I want you to write this down. This is the key. Clarity not only allows you to see the reality of the crisis for what it is, okay? Clarity not only allows you to see the reality of the crisis for what it is, it also allows you to see beyond the crisis, okay? So it also allows you to see the sunshine beyond the crisis, all right? So I want you guys to write that down and remember that because that is one of your keys, okay? All right. So the next thing is what's determining the way that you're seeing and responding to your crisis at the moment, all right? Because at the moment, you've been doing something. You've been seeing it a certain way. You've been responding in a certain way or reacting in a certain way to whatever your crisis may be. So now you have a better sense how this crisis is affecting you personally. And now we want to take a look at how are you responding and seeing the crisis that you're going through, okay? And in the process of doing this, I want to ask you a question. So what's in the way? What's in the way of how you see and respond to your crisis? Because for a lot of people, fear is in the way. I know for myself personally, I've been through a few crises, and fear has been focused a lot of times, insecurity most of the time, and also past and present hurt and painful experience that you have. Those are the things that we put our focus on, and those things are actually what's in our way when we're talking about simplifying and responding and seeing the situation in a way that allows us to really begin to thrive and to see the other side of it. So, what's getting in your way? So, one of the biggest determining factors of how you see and respond to a current crisis is the takeaways that you've had from past situations. Your past situations give you the perspective from those situations, and you try to apply them to your current situations. And the truth of the matter is, it doesn't always fit. We will try to take the situation and make it fit, but this is something that I want you to understand when you're viewing it, your current situation, okay? And this is something that you'll be able to use in the future too, because this is the reality of it. So you can take any situation that you dealt with, either from the past or the present, all right? And there are certain facts about that situation and circumstance that haven't changed. It's just what it is. It's the reality of whatever it is that you're facing. It's just the reality, okay? The reality is the job is no longer there. The reality is your significant other has walked out the door, or they're threatening to walk out the door, okay? The fact is the relationship just isn't what it used to be, okay? That's the reality of it, you know? That's the reality of that challenge or those challenges. But there's also a perception. Now, the perception is something that can change. The reality of it is something that, well, excuse me, I won't even say the reality. I would say the facts of what has happened, they won't change. Okay, that's past tense, maybe even present tense. But going forward, your perception can be whatever you choose for it to be. All right, you don't necessarily have to use your past experiences and put a tag on something as the way that it has to be going forward. Okay, so you control the way you choose to see and respond to this crisis. All right. So this works the same way when it comes to relationships, when it comes to business, when it comes to anxiety. The thing that I want you to understand is that you'll say, okay, well, how can I change the perspective of this situation? Okay, well, understand this. You can see it this way when we're thinking of perspective. Okay, you can think on one hand it's something horrible that has happened. All right, that's the fact. But you also can say perspective wise going forward, there's been a change. There's been a change, and I have to allow this change to become an opportunity to do something greater. I have an opportunity to respond to this change in a way that's going to be beneficial to me, okay, and to be beneficial to those around me. The change has begun. It's up to me to see it in a way that is going to make life better, you know? Is going to be the proper response to this so that I can thrive going forward instead of being stuck in a perspective that is only going to not work out good for me, my family, my business, or my life going forward. Right? So here's another key that I want you to take down. Write this down. This is a key to you simplifying the way that you see and respond to complicated times and crisis. You have to develop a new perspective. Whatever a thing is to you controls the way you see and respond to change. The third point that we're going to make here is taking a look at thinking, feeling, focus. So what are you thinking? I want you to take inventory on your thoughts, and I want you to know that it's okay to consider the positive and the negative possibilities of your situation. But I also want you to understand that this is helpful only when you're in the undecided phase of what to do next. Okay? So I'll say that again. It's okay to consider the positive and negative possibilities of your situation while you're still in the undecided phase of what to do next. I would say that it is good to count up the whole cost of anything. All right? I've heard it said this way: if you're a man that is going to build a house, should consider the whole cost of building the house before he starts building the house. Okay? So in that phase, it's okay to consider the positive, or what we would perceive to be the positive and the negative possibilities here. But I also want you to know that it is never a good thing to focus on the undesirable outcomes in your life. Once we get past the phase of being undecided, all right, and we decide what it is that we want, we have to focus on the desired outcomes in our life. Okay, now that really is a key too. You have to focus on the desired outcomes in life, okay? So I hear some of you saying, okay, well, I'm going through a crisis. I'm going through a divorce. I'm going through a separation. How can I find a desired outcome from this situation, or a beneficial outcome that doesn't involve my family coming back together under one roof? Or how can I get a desired outcome, a positive outcome that doesn't include me having my business back or having my job back? And I understand, but I also want you to know that there's always more than one way to see a crisis, okay? Really, that's throughout life. It's always more than one way to see anything, okay? I believe that everything has at least two sides to it. I don't think you've ever seen anything that only had one side to it, whether it's a piece of paper or your body, everything, your computer screen, everything has two sides to it, all right? So there's always a possibility for you to see at least two sides to every situation, okay? So I want to talk about, even in your darkest hours, some of the benefits of crisis. It allows you to understand humility, all right? And I've heard somewhere where it says that if you humble yourself before the Lord, He will exalt you, okay? So you can take your situation, whatever it may be, and you still can choose not to humble yourself through that situation, okay? And I also heard that pride comes before the fall. And you know what? Some of us have refused to humble ourselves in the past, but this situation is causing us to humble ourselves. What comes next, according to that belief, is that you will be exalted. So it gives you a chance to humble yourself and to thrive on the other side of it, all right? It offers you an opportunity to simplify your life. So, for example, if your business may not be thriving the way that it had been, or you may have lost your job, or career change, or whatever it may be. Well, in the midst of humbling yourself, you may realize that there are some things that you had been doing in your life that really were uncalled for, okay? There were some things that you may have been doing that made life a little bit more difficult for you than it had to be. I mean, just bringing it to some practical terms here, just simply creating a budget is a good way to help you find disposable income, okay? So you may feel like, okay, you're struggling with finances, but the truth of the matter is there's some things that are going on in your life, maybe some things that you possess that may not necessarily be assets, but liabilities, maybe some things that you could get rid of, that you could simplify your life and create, like I said, some disposable income, okay? That will take a little bit of pressure off of you, all right? So there's always some things. There may be some people in your life you can let go of at this point, okay? There may just be some things that you just need to see from a different perspective that you wouldn't have unless you came to this situation. For example, if you got a diagnosis in your health, all right? So the fact is, the doctor did say, okay, you have high blood pressure. You've been diagnosed with diabetes, or, a whole lot of other things. But this is giving you opportunity to say, okay, well, now that I know this and I understand this is the reality of my situation. What can I do to change the situation. It's giving you opportunity to say, okay, well, I can start eating better. Maybe in the process of eating better, you also could save money as well. I won't go too far to that side with it, but it gives you an opportunity to say, okay, well, I can get in better shape. I can drop that weight down, by dropping that weight down and eating better and drinking more water and getting more rest, which you probably needed all of these things, and they've probably been out of whack to begin with. But when you do these things, guess what? It's a good shot that your weight is going to drop, and as your weight drops, and you begin to eat the right food and exercise and get the proper rest you need, then your blood pressure will probably come down and you're eating the right foods. So you're able to manage your glucose levels, you know. So all of these things could be a cure by you simplifying your life. So also I want to talk about another benefit of crisis is it reveals your hidden potential, even with getting a diagnosis of a health issue. So you haven't been applying yourself, you hadn't been working out, you hadn't been jogging and exercising or whatever. So it's a lot of things that you haven't done in years. And today you may not be able to do it. But once you get back into it, 6 months from now, a lot of things that you aren't able to do now, you will be able to do in other ways as well. You'll be surprised when you get into a situation where your money is low and you see and respond to things differently than you had been, then ideas will come to you, all right? Opportunities will come to you, all right? Especially when you begin to focus on these things and you begin to work towards these things, all right? And it'll bring out that hidden potential that you hadn't seen in yourself in a while. It also reveals your true beliefs about things. I want to go so much deeper, but I can't today. All right. But those hidden beliefs that you have and that faith that you have, okay, now you have an opportunity to test that belief that you had. You have an opportunity to test that faith that you had, okay? Because it's real easy to say that you believe in something when times are going smooth, okay? When you have the ideal situation, all right? It's real easy then. But when times get complicated, when you are in the midst of a challenge, when you're in the midst of change, when you're in the midst of a crisis, then that gives you a real opportunity because whenever you have anything that's worth doing for one, but also when you begin to walk into your destiny, when you begin to walk into your purpose, when you are on the edge of a breakthrough, when you're on the edge of your destiny, then there are going to be forces that come against you. There will be opposition, okay? There will be an adversary. And in those times is when you have to exercise your belief by believing in yourself, believing in the things that you said matter to you, believing in your God. So this gives you an opportunity to do that, all right? All right, I want to give you a key takeaway from number 3, all right? Whatever you focus on will appear. So you have to control what you think. So let the positive thought fill your heart. You have to focus on being, doing, and having only the things that you truly desire, okay? So you have to focus on only the things that you truly desire. As I spoke of before, it's okay to think about the possibilities from a negative or positive aspect when you're in the undecided phase. But once you've decided, and my definition of decided is for you to take away all other possibilities and say, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to accomplish. This is what I'm working towards. So once you've decided that, you only focus on being, doing, and having that thing that you decided and you desire, okay? All right. The next thing that we're going to focus on in your pursuit of simplifying the way that you see and respond to complicated times and crisis is a plan to thrive. All right. So during a crisis, most people either react without thinking or they procrastinate. That means that they do nothing. Either they act in a very poor way or they do nothing and they allow the actions of others to determine their outcomes. So when I say that, a person will be in the midst of a crisis, all right? And during the midst of the crisis, they freeze up. They're no longer being themselves. They forgot who they are, they forgot what they're capable of doing, and they're only focused on the crisis or the situation. And this causes them to do nothing. A lot of us will go and try to sleep it away. We will stay away from people and situations where we'll have to talk about it or realize the reality of what's going on. And while all this is happening, life is really just spiraling downhill for us, okay? We're like going down this hill. We're putting ourselves in a ditch, or some people may say we're getting stuck in the mud. Well, that's not going to work. What we need to do is not to panic during a crisis, but rather plan. So don't panic, but plan in crisis, all right? So this is when you go back to seeing things for what they are, but you also take a look at how you desire them to be on the other side of your storm. Okay, so I want to simplify this for you to help you plan in your time of crisis. Remember these three things. You want to dream, think, and do. All right? Simple. Dream, think, do. So let's start with the dream. I want you to dream out loud. I also want you to dream on paper. I want you to meditate. I want you to visualize. This is part of your process of dreaming, all right? So during the clarification stages, I ask you what was your ideal outcome? What is it that you really want? So during that process of thinking about what it is you really want and the outcome that you really want, that was part of this dream, okay? But I want you to take it from an idea to getting crystal clear in your head, okay? I want it to be really vivid here. So when I say to you that I want to simplify the way that you see and respond to crisis and change, I want you to literally see what it is that you desire. Okay? And that process includes you dreaming, okay? That dreaming out loud, dreaming on paper, visualizing, meditating, whatever it takes. We want to dream it. We want to have a clear vision of what it looks like after this storm is over with. The next thing is I want you to think. I want you to attach specific goals and timelines to your dreams, because it's great to have a dream. It's great to have a vision. Before you actually take the action, one thing that you have to do is really just think of ways, okay, that I can make this happen. I want you to really just put it in specific goals of this is one step towards that. This is another step towards my desired outcome. This is another step, all right? And during that process, you might need to partner with someone. Okay? They can give you some insight, also share some of their thoughts, some of their dreams that may inspire and may encourage you to take your next steps. Sit down with someone else or get on the phone with someone else that could partner with you. But you can also take a look at recordings and YouTube and different places where you see somebody that inspires you and use what you see in them as sort of a blueprint for you, or at least something that will inspire you and encourage you to take some of the steps that they may have taken. Each of us have our own path, our own purpose, and our own gifts and talents that we must express, but it's perfectly fine to take pieces from others as well to help on your path and your pursuit, okay? And once you have this dream and you thought of ways to take this dream and create some time-oriented goals to this, and there's other things you need to consider as well, but now we're going to do it, all right? So simply do whatever it is that you decided that you want to do. Well, it ain't even a want, okay? A desire. You're going to simply do what you decided to do, all right? But there's nothing to it but to do it, okay? Once you're clear on what it is that you want to do. All right. So here's the key I want you to write down. Here's the key to this, all right? To your plan to thrive. You have to see yourself doing, being, and having even through your crisis. All right? You have to see yourself doing, being, and having even through your crisis. All right? Also, you have to focus on that vision and respond by doing whatever it takes. Okay? So you're going to focus on that vision and do whatever it takes to thrive through your complicated times, through your crisis, whatever it is, okay? All right. So I'm going to put this all together for you so you can write it down. Make sure you have it written down. So you have to see yourself doing, being, and having, even through your crisis. Focus on that vision and respond by doing whatever it takes to thrive through complicated times and beyond. All right? Whatever it takes to thrive through complicated times and beyond. All right? So this is the simplified version of what you need to do to simplify the way that you see and respond to crisis and complicated times. Okay, so what are the things you need to simplify the way that you see and respond and thrive during complicated times? Just going to give you a quick recap here, okay? So the first thing is you need clarity, not only on what your current reality of the situation is, but also see the desired outcome beyond your crisis, okay? So write that down. Clarify not only what the current reality of your situation is, but also see the desired outcome beyond the crisis. Next, develop a new perspective. Whatever you call a thing controls the way that you see and respond to it. You can't change the facts, okay? The facts are what they are. You can change your perspective towards them in a way that will benefit you and the world around you, okay? So, in other words, this could be your motivation. The change has already happened, all right? It happened, all right? There's nothing you can do about it. It happened. But now you're in the midst of change. So now we have to find a way for this change to benefit you, okay? We have to find a way for you to thrive going forward from this change that has happened, and you can't do anything about that, okay? All right, so that develop a new perspective. Next, you let the positive thoughts fill your heart. You got to focus on being, doing, and having only the things you truly desire, all right? So a key here is focus. You have to focus. It's okay to have thoughts, but here's one thing that I discovered and I know to be true. You can only focus on one thing at a time. No matter what you think, you can only focus on one thing at a time, okay? Another thing I know is that you can really focus on whatever you choose to focus on. So thoughts will come. We have this powerful tool that allows us to cast down any thoughts that we don't want. We have a powerful tool that allows us to cast down things that are undesirable. And it allows us to focus on the things that we choose. It's up to you. And those things that you focus on will become the things that's in your heart. So what I'm saying to you is only focus on the positive things. And if you only focus on those positive things, then those positive things will become the things that are in your heart. And once your heart is filled with a certain thing, then that's what will overflow in your life. So I want you to only focus on the things that you truly desire. And those things are the things that will be issued to you. I read that somewhere, where the things that are in your heart will be issued to you and they will appear in your life. And I also heard somewhere that in abundance of your heart, your mouth will speak. So maybe we haven't been getting the results that we desire because that thing hasn't really been truly in our heart the way that it should be, because it's been mixed in with unbelief, it's been mixed in with doubt, it's been mixed in with fear and insecurity and all those things, okay? But now we're going to fill it with just the things that we desire, just the things that are true, those things that are pure, those things that are real. And maybe it took this process for you to be able to get to the point where you're able to do that and your heart can be filled with all those things that you truly desire. And now you can respond and you can see these things and you can produce them in your life, okay? Out of the heart flows the issues of life, okay? And that's what we want to flow from our lives going forward, all right? Only the things that you desire. So next, don't panic, but plan in crisis. So this is when you focus on developing that vision and responding to it by doing whatever it takes to thrive during your complicated time and beyond in your life. I say it's time that you change the way that you see and respond to this crisis, any other complicated times that you may have in your life. And I also know that there's a process where you can change not the things that have happened to you in your past, but you can change the way that you perceive them and also allow that to fuel you going forward instead of hinder you, instead of having the effects of insecurity, fears, and anxiety in your life based off of past experiences that are affecting your present reality. It's time to move forward from that. It's time to see life differently. It's time to respond to life differently. And if you're interested in getting support to help you navigate through complicated personal times so that you can change the way you see and respond to the changes and crises in your life. And also, if you would like help in implementing the process in your home, in your business, or in your personal life, I want you to please check out the contact information below. And I want you to reach out right now. I want you to reach out so you can get the support that you need, whether that support is via one-on-one coaching, or if it's a group offer, or maybe even a digital product to get you started. But the point is, you have to do whatever it takes to get the desired results that you want in your life, okay? I believe that you can do this with or without me. I truly do. I believe that God has given all of us everything that's pertaining to life and godliness. It's already within us. But if you would like a little help in pulling those things that are within you and make them visible in your life, and you would like a little support, a little bit of encouragement, a few tools that can help you pull these things out and get your life back thriving, to get your business back on track, to get your relationships back on track, to get your life back on track, then I'm here to support you, okay? So this is Tory Bryant, simplifying the way that you see and respond to complicated times.